Hello, everyone. I'm Alexis, and welcome to the Book Dragon new author features that I'm starting. So, these two authors with us today have released books in June, actually, today, when this is airing, June 25th. So, I would like both of you to introduce yourself and talk about your book that is releasing out into the world today. Who would like to start?
Go ahead, Renee. You can go first.
Renee, do you want to?
Sure.
All
Hi,
right.
I'm Renee Beauregard Lute. My new book is Dinner at the Breakfast. It came out today with Quill Tree Books and HarperCollins. It's about a 12-year-old girl named Tacoma Jones who runs a truck stop diner with her parents in North Bend, Washington. Her dad is struggling with his mental health. He has depression. And on this particular day where the book takes place, Tacoma wakes up and she's like so excited because finally she gets to make dinner. And she's used to having breakfast like 24/7 at this truck stop. She prepares it for everybody. She has to eat it herself. And she's really tired of pancakes and coffee. And so she's gotten the opportunity to do dinner, and her dad's having an awful day. And she's like, well, how's that going to work out then? But at the same time, a tour bus breaks down in their parking lot. And she realizes like, oh, like today's a little bit different. Something's going to happen today. She finds out in like the first or second chapter that this prized possession, this photograph that was on the truck stop diner wall, had been stolen. And she realizes that the person who stole it is sort of her sworn enemy. And she's like, okay, so this bus broke down. There's a kid my age, which like never happens. It's all truckers at this truck stop. She's got an accomplice, and she's got a reason to get out of the diner and get some ingredients for her dinner and get this thing back that might just make her dad feel a little bit better. And so they go on this it's kind of a heist with like an accidental kidnapping in a semi truck. It's an adventure story. And I'm really excited that it's out in the world.
I love that setting.
Thank you.
That's a lot of fun to do a truck stop. That's very unique, and I like the heist feel. So next, I'll go ahead and start talking about your book.
Awesome. I'm Patchree Jones. So my new novel, middle grade fantasy novel, is called Skylight. You can see I get to have my wonderful background as if I'm there. This one, we're following also 12-year-old main character. Her name's Sophia Luana, and her best friend as they kind of take their first flight across the country. I believe she's been born, like she thinks was born and grew up in Colorado Springs. And at the end of her 7th grade year, her mom tells her, we're moving across country and we're going to Los Angeles. On her first flight, her and her friend, her best friend, also their family is moving with them. So the two of them see a magical door in the sky on her first flight. And that kind of sets off their adventures where they wake up one morning and they are now in this castle in the sky. And then it just sets off. It's a Thai-inspired fantasy world where really we kind of focus on how she discovers she is a part of this world. Sophia's thrown into a decades-long war. She's got a secret royal identity, which isn't a spoiler here, but the rest of the book is really just kind of following the adventures where she gets to find how does she fit into this world? Because back at home in Colorado, she felt like she never fit in. And now she's thrown into a new world where everybody kind of looks like her and everybody knows who she is and they know everything about her, but she doesn't even know anything about herself. So it's really a journey of self-discovery, and along with some adventure and hijinks and magic and evil sorceresses and shape-shifting octopus that's after them, and winged warriors. So you can see I infuse Thai folklore, have lots of simple Thai vocabulary in there, and it's the story of my heart. So I'm so glad that it's out there today as well.
And also another really cool and unique setting. I really love that as well. And both of your covers are absolutely stunning and eye-catching. So how did you feel whenever you first saw your covers?
I was so excited. This is the first time that I've gotten kind of like any say in the cover. Like this is my first time with Quill Tree, and they've been phenomenal. And they sent like, hey, well, here are some different cover artists. why don't you look through their portfolios, see their work? And like, that was kind of cool. Like I got to kind of give my favorites. And then when we went with Oriel Vidal, he's incredible. They were like, here are some different covers he's been working on. Like, which one speaks to you? It's very cool to be involved. And then the final cover, I was like blown away.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
same. I think I'm in the same kind of situation there. I'm printed with Sora Books, which is a small imprint, and it's their non-Muslim print of Scheherazade shelves. They're like, it's literally a pair of sisters who's now, she's kind of handling it solo, but I love helping young women running their own business and being a part of that. But same thing, we knew walking into the cover design that we wanted a Southeast Asian artist. So the cover artist is in fact a Thai artist. I don't know, her full name is in the book, but I only know her as Noor because I saw her profile on Twitter, sent the artwork to my publishers, and they're like, yeah, let's see what they want to do. Going through the process, seeing the black and white sketches, and then the first color layouts, and then knowing that it's a full wraparound cover was really, really cool. And then we know we wanted to highlight the aesthetics of the land and the world. And then you get to see the tiny little Sophia and Kara. They're like stuck there, right there on the little bottom. They're like on my elbow right here, just covered him. And then Maple Tree comes and so it was like being able to, I think like Renee, being involved in that process. One, I was surprised that I got to be involved in the process. I didn't know, like, I don't know, we're debuting. I don't know how it's supposed to work at all. But having so much say in who the cover artist would be, and giving pinpoints and recommendations at each phase of the process, and then seeing the final was, it was a really fun experience, and I was happy with it. I printed posters of the front cover.
Yeah, so. It's definitely poster worthy. Yeah. And I think that's so cool that you were able to have a Southeastern Asian representative for your cover. That's really good. So we're going to play a little bit of a 2 truths and a lie game. So Patchree, you're going to guess about Renee first. So Renee has performed with someone before. Has she performed with Taylor Swift, Elton John, or Kenny Rogers?
Kenny Rogers.
Oh, yes. Renee, you want to tell more? You got it.
Is that
you
right?
Want to tell more about it?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I was in college. And at the time, I did not know how excited to be about it. Like I now am like, oh gosh, that's like 2 degrees from Dolly Parton herself. But at the time, I was like, no, there's a country singer, and he's coming through. I'm from Massachusetts. He's coming through Western Mass, and he's auditioning singers to sing with him in his Christmas concerts. Like, I'm gonna audition, and I got it, and it was a cool experience. And now, like, I don't want to say decades later, but like a decade and a half later, it's like, that's kind of cool. That was cool that happened.
You didn't even know, and now you have a fun fact.
Yes.
That's really cool.
I love it. That is really cool. So Renee, why don't you guess about Patchree? So she has a superpower that she would like, and you need to guess which one it is. So do you think she would like to travel to the future? Do you think she would like to stop time for just herself? Or do you think that she would like to fly?
I'm going to guess that she would like to stop time for herself.
I was too specific with that one. Yes.
I was just thinking how nice that would be. Like, the world is very loud and busy. And like, if you could just kind of take a minute for yourself, that'd be good.
That is a good one, but I don't think I picked that one.
You don't? I swear that's what I...
Was it?
Well, I made you. I don't know.
Given the other, or maybe my opinion has changed.
Yeah. So what is your opinion now?
Well, I thought I would like to fly, because then I can go up into the actual tropos and I can visit the land. But I guess that I would need to get like an interdimensional portal flight license or something. of that sort. But being able to, every time I get the superpower question, it's always like, it must change with whatever my feeling is at the time. Stopping time would be good because then you can just sit and write for a really, really long time and then it won't feel that long. But I thought I had
Yeah.
picked flying so I can go.
I think you I don't remember how I got that. There was another question that I asked you, and I think you typed this one in. So maybe you did both.
I probably did both.
Maybe
I'm gonna
you just
fly
have
so
all-
fast that I stop time
It
just
stops
for
time.
There we go.
Yes.
We permutated
I like
it
it.
and it works.
Oh my.
That's how the fantasy mind works, right?
That's how, yes, it is. Like it just keeps going. So who would like to describe their publishing journey for this book first?
Do you want me to start? I can definitely start.
Yeah.
I've gotten this question a few times before in different realms and different settings, but I never set out to really become a published writer. And I didn't really know what kind of genre I would want to write. I love reading all genres, and I don't always just write in the genres that I love to read. But kid lit and specifically middle grade kind of fell into place when I had kids. And I started writing Skylight in 2017. First words were written August 2017. It was a family project. My daughter and I, we traded off paragraphs. She wrote a paragraph, I wrote a paragraph, and she stopped on page 2, and I just kept going. And it took me about 4 years to write the book, but I took a year off. So it was during COVID that I finally decided to sit down and finish it. Didn't know anything about querying, had a rough draft. I finished writing it in January of 2021. And I started querying like the end of the month, which is not what you're supposed to do at all. Spent a year querying, just trying to learn what querying was, realizing that the first draft was 103,000 words. It's way too long. So spent a few months, almost like 6 months, cutting it in half, and querying again. Participating in pitch contests. A lot of Twitter contests, not getting any engagement, and really was on the cusp of deciding to self-publish the book when I participated in the mood pitch contest. I don't think they're still having it, but I'm not too sure. But that one landed me a like from the editor who signed, the acquiring editor who has now gone off to agenting with Sora Books. I got the offer letter on Christmas Day of 2023, and
Wow.
I, haven't looked back since. So it's kind of like, wow, it was really kind of a cool present. Thinking that I was going to self-publish, knowing that the story was a bit too niche for people, even though I can see the mass appeal for it. But because it was very Thai laden, perhaps the language might have been off-putting. I know I got early bad ARC reviews about the strange language in it, so that's just part of being a marginalized author or underrepresented author. But I take it all in stride, and so here I am. It took about a year through the whole process of signing to printing date, and now I can officially say I'm a published author. So it's been quite a journey.
Yeah, it's really cool to see that those pitch contests work, or the mood contest. So it was, I always wonder, who actually it does it go further than getting a like. So that's really cool. I think I remember that one. Was it like a mood board or something that you had to send?
You do a mood
Yeah.
board and then a same standard pitch. And that's like, how do I put my story? How do I boil this 300 page, 60,000 plus word story into 280 characters? But I sent it out.
did.
I sent initial chapters. She liked it. They've liked it. And here we are a year
That's
later.
really cool.
Hopefully
That's
the
really
world
cool.
will like the story as well.
I just pre-ordered or I guess ordered it now. It's out.
Oh,
It'll be
yay.
here soon. I'm excited.
Yes.
That's
There
exciting.
you go. All right, Renee, what about your journey?
So this one is my 6th book, and my first 4 books were a chapter book series with Abdo back in like 2016. And my fifth book, The Exceptional Maggie Chowder, came out with Albert Whitman and Company in 2020, which, as we know, is not a great year for publishing books. And after that, I mean, I have 3 kids at home, and we're a very neurodiverse bunch. And so virtual school was particularly challenging. And I was spending all day doing virtual school with my son, while my oldest daughter was kind of just in her room doing school by herself, I assume. And my husband was working in the basement, and my youngest daughter, who was like a toddler at the time, we were like, well, now you're free. Like, do whatever you want to do in the living room, because we can't keep an eye on you. And so she did. She's basically feral at this point, and wonderful as well. And so I'm up there just like 5 hours a day, sometimes longer, with my son, thinking, oh my gosh, I don't know that I'm ever going to write again. Like, how do you get the energy and like the ideas and whatever when you're just so exhausted all the time? And then it was like fall of 2021, and I had a year plus of like thinking. And I started thinking about truck stops, first of all. So there's this fabulous picture book called Truck Stop, and I can't remember the author or the illustrator. The author's Anne something. And it was like the coziest picture book. I used to read it to my son when he was little. And I remember thinking years ago, I would really love to write something set in a truck stop, because it's like kind of rough around the edges, but super cozy. Like, and what if it's a family who lives in the truck stop that they're running? And so like these little ideas, while I don't know, just deep in like, oh gosh, like COVID is terrible and I'm never going to have an idea again. These little ideas sort of were happening anyway. And I thought, oh, maybe someday I'll write a truck stop book. And then I was thinking about mental illness, because I think many of us sort of had to confront like, oh, hey, like I have depression right now, or for me, PMDD, or various other things. And you can still be an amazing parent and be grappling with mental health issues, particularly during the quarantine. Like it was hard. And I thought that would be good too, like writing a book where there's a parent maybe dealing with mental illness, but also continuing to be a great parent, because these things often come hand in hand, being mentally ill and a great parent. And so these little ideas kept happening. And finally, my kids went off to school, September of 2021. It was their first time all being in school at the same time all day, because my youngest at that point entered kindergarten. And in a month, I sat down and wrote the entire first draft of the manuscript, because I think these little ideas had just sort of like embedded themselves into my brain, and I just needed to get them out. And so that was great. I have never written a manuscript in that short an amount of time ever before in my life. And then I sent it to my agent, and we did just all of the revisions, several drafts of them, probably for about a year, like back and forth. She had suggestions. I made big changes. And then we went on submission. And my editor is Courtney at Quilltree Books, an imprint of HarperCollins, and like she has just been phenomenal. And when she first gave me my big editorial letter, it was like 20 pages. That might be an exaggeration, but it was massive. And when you go into that, you're like, oh, I kind of thought it was perfect because of the whole year that I spent revising. And so it's always a shock, even though it shouldn't be. Like, it's never perfect. I was like, oh my gosh, 20 pages. And then we went through that big revision, and then some smaller revisions, and that took us to today. It came out, and it's been wonderful. I mean, I've had a couple different publishing experiences, but this has been just by far the best.
Oh, that's really cool. And you both kind of have in common that you had to do some major revisions, and that's something that, as a writer, to keep that in mind, that's needed, which is something I often get stuck on myself. I don't want to revise. It is perfect, but it's not. So what is your writing style, Renee? How would you describe your writing style?
I'm very voicey. Like my middle grade voice is probably like the strongest thing about the book, or any of my books really, as well as the characters. Like all the characters are kind of very much themselves, and they have big personalities. Tacoma Jones is my main character, and like she's a little bit like me, but she's also a lot cooler, and she's also dealing with a lot of like 12-year-old issues, plus some pretty massive anxiety that she sort of learns to confront throughout the book. So yeah, voicey and big on the characters.
I like that. What about you, Patchree?
I think it took a while for me to find my voice in it, but eventually through that process, because again, it was a very rough writing process. I'm more narrative. I come from an academic background, so I'm a communication major. I have to be able to hear it, and I need my words to be lyrical. And it feels arrogant to try to say I aim for it to be cinematic because when you're seeing it, and I really need to feel the scene building itself up and the world itself as a character. And I think that happens a lot when you're writing fantasy, because you have to incorporate that world building without info dumping, but still move the plot forward and build your characters and make sure that it all makes sense. And then reminding yourself that you're writing for kids. So you can't use those big, huge, luscious words that may be over their head. So for me, it was really trying to temper that. And it was a learning curve and a learning process. But the editing, like my editor really kind of helped simplify a lot of those things. But I aim to write cinematically because I see the chapters in my head like episodes of a show. And so my brain kind of jumps from character to character. So honing in on like limited third was another barrier or battle that I had to overcome. But it is a multi-point of view book. So you get to dip into the heads of a few different characters and then learning to just temper that, because I think that also lends itself to watching too much anime and writing it like it should be a movie. But
Never
rather than
too much.
Hopefully a producer picks it up and will say like, yes, I can picture this on the screen. But I think I aim to write cinematically, and then voice comes in eventually. Like now I can see the characters clearly, but when I started, I couldn't distinguish Sophia and Kara at all, which is horrible for an author to admit at the beginning. But that's part of the crafting process. And now they're such two distinct characters. And when you deep dive into one person's shoes, it really kind of helped a little bit more. But I think the Sophia as a main character doesn't always mirror me as much. But I think all my characters have a little bit of me is inside each character, so to speak.
Yeah. I love that. So we will end with a book recommendation from each of you. So Renee, what book have you liked recently?
Okay, so in April, my family was going to Disneyland, and I was like, I'm going to need to bring a book for the times where I'm not like, I've got 3 kids for when I'm bored, which never happens, but think positive. I was like, oh, I'm going to pick up Holly Black's Cruel Prince because I love Holly Black. And I know that the series is like extraordinarily popular. I know I'm going to like it. And then I made the mistake of sitting down still at my house and reading a few pages. And then that's all I did that day. I could not put it down. It was, oh my gosh, it was so good. I was so sucked in. And what's wild is if you describe the book to me, I'd be like, I don't know that I'm that interested in like Fae politics, but like I totally am, I guess, when it's written like that. And so I immediately was like, oh no, I just finished my vacation book. I will buy the next 2 books and I won't read them until I'm on this vacation. And obviously that did not happen. I bought them, read them immediately, and had to read a different book on vacation. But I recommend that trilogy, the Cruel Prince trilogy. Make sure you set aside a few days where no one requires anything of you.
Yeah. I just finished that series as well. And that 3rd book just had me just all over. Like have you read The Stolen Heir yet?
No, I haven't.
Okay. That's like a duology that follows after.
Oh,
I know what I'm doing this week.
I know. I have Stolen Heir, and I've been like debating on when, because I know it will consume me, because Holly Black just, like
she's amazing.
World building is fantastic. Yeah.
Yes.
I agree with that book. I was very excited when I saw that was your recommendation. Both of you, I was just like, we're best friends because, you know. All
I
right,
think
what book would you?
seen that. I've definitely seen the Cruel Prince, and it's one of those on your ever-growing TBR that I've yet to.
It is.
It feels
Yeah.
more. It runs YA, right? It
Mhm.
does. And I think the
Yes.
last year I'm reading too many middle grades, which
Yeah,
is why
if
my
you-
middle grade. I had a middle grade recommendation, and so I think when
Yes.
I wrote it, my recommendation is one. It's a book that's not out yet, of course. It'll come out January 2025. So here I go plugging my critique partner. So full disclosure, it's my critique
Love
partner
it.
book, Kate DeMau, and her book is Fiona and the Forgotten Piano. And it follows a 12-year-old Fiona duet as she's like a very rule-abiding, adorable, insecure main character who is so nervous about her appearance. She has like really big like freckles or spots on her face, and she always thinks that everybody's looking at her, and so it kind of forces her to kind of dive inward. But she discovers this magic forgotten piano in the backyards of her home, and she breaks the rules one day, heads back, sees like a tiny little tree frog, captures him, thinks she's rescuing him, and when he starts talking to her, it kind of just rocks her world. So she goes on this huge adventure, following all these musical worlds, and she discovers herself, discovers her voice, discovers her powers, and then gets to be able to help find where she wants to be or who she wants to be and build that sense of security and self-identity in it. But Kate does a wonderful job of, I've gotten to see the book grow from when it was like really new, and we worked on it together, like, you know, as critique partners. We went chapter by chapter for over a year on it, but being able to see the worlds, and for anybody who's a music lover, she does such a great job of building, putting musical terminology all throughout the book. And so they're like little quirky jokes that if you're a musician, you're like, oh, that's too funny. From the names of the characters, the names of the world, the way that those words and that terminology influences the creation of the worlds. It feels like Alice in Wonderland meets Willy Wonka. It's like
cool.
really how I love watching the book. So that book will come out January of next year. But Fiona and the Forgotten Piano. Hopefully she'll have ARCs coming out soon. But
yeah,
we always
I'm
push
gonna
it.
check.
It's a fun, quick read, and it's just delightful to see how her worlds have grown, and it's fast-paced, fun fantasy. Standard middle grade fantasy.
Yeah, I love it. I forgot to ask Patchree,
Mhm.
how many books is the Skylight or the series going
It's a
to have?
planned
Do you know?
trilogy. It is a planned
Trilogy.
trilogy. So I'm still working on, I'm drafting the second book. Now I'm about a third of the way in. They will go to a different land and a different world in the second book. But I also had to, my publisher asked me to outline the final book. And I'm like, I'm not even done with the second one. I don't think that fast. So at least I've got outlines for the second and third book.
Wow.
And it is a planned trilogy.
And Renee, do you have anything in the horizon?
So right now, my agent just got back from maternity leave, and she has a manuscript that we've been kind of going back and forth with revisions on for the last a while, about a year, maybe 2 years. It's about a girl who she's grieving her dad who had died a year prior, and she's seeing her mom make all these not awesome choices, including joining an MLM or like a pyramid scheme, you know, the ones where it's like, we're going to sell leggings and I have to get other people to sell these leggings, and only this MLM turns out to be an actual cult. And so this girl has to join up with the other cult kids and try to like bring down a cult and save their parents.
Oh, that sounds
wow.
incredible.
That you got me at cult. Like, have you read, this is a little off, but have you read the book Cultish? I'm assuming.
Yes. So in fact, that was one of the things I had read. I'll read anything cult. I love the documentaries. I love it all. So I loved it. And like there was that whole part about how MLMs and pyramid schemes are like a little bit culty with how specific language, and you're going to be ostracized if you're not like following these very rigid rules. And like it is the comparison is there.
That's really exciting. Well, I'm excited for
I
both
had
of
just
you.
watched like a Netflix documentary on, I don't remember the name of it now, but it's like a dancing cult, the TikTok.
Oh,
the 7M cults. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. That one was on, it was like a limited series on Netflix. And my husband and I, we watched it. We're like, this is crazy. What are people doing? We have it, but they always, so he likes documentaries. And so we're always, they've got a whole, once you watch that one, then the next Netflix pulls it. So they've got a handful of cultish documentaries on there.
Do. There's that great one about
it's like all
the Rajneeshi cult in Oregon. Did you guys see that one?
No, but we'll probably.
I didn't see all the, yeah.
It was wild.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, I think that book will inspire some more cult obsessors. Hopefully not anyone who joins a cult, just to like read about.
Hopefully it's a warning, like, hey, these little things can add up to cult. Don't do them.
Yeah.
Don't buy the leggings. Yeah. Well, I hope that everyone listening will buy Dinner at the Breakfast and Skylight. And congratulations, both of you, on your awesome release day. So take care and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. So much. You too.